Hey everyone, welcome back to the Evil Within. This is an Akumu, no upgrade, no locker, no freeze bolt, no flash bolt playthrough on the PS4. So this is chapter 3. This is kind of where the game fully begins and opens up. You get some new weapons, you see some new enemies. It's kind of open in how you can approach things, stuff like that. There's more traps, a lot going on here. You can tackle it in different ways too. There's different paths. You can do things in different order. You can skip some things outright. You can rush right to the boss, which kind of lets you open up the exit of the chapter. So there's a lot of things you can do here. The only thing about this chapter is it starts off with this kind of forced talking section. So you got to go up to this in this house and talk to the doctor for a minute or two. And then it really begins. You can go a lot of different ways from there. I always start this way and I grab the axe. So when the first enemy appears, which he has a torch, so this axe is going to let me get a free kill and on him grab another free kill item. So that's why I always go this way. The other way you'll have traps first, so you can disarm them, but you don't have the crossbow quite yet, so I don't go that way, because getting the traps that early isn't really necessary to me.
I'm not one of them.
So here's this talking part I was talking about. This is one of my only gripes with this game is these sections. It's pretty tame compared to a lot of modern big budget games, but they're enough to be annoying on subsequent playthroughs. Like I really just want to jump into the game sometimes, and there's a couple minutes of this here and there, and it gets kind of annoying. Some later chapters it's not as bad. Like chapters 7 through 10 really don't have a whole lot of it. I don't think chapter 11 really has any either, but some of these first chapters, there's quite a bit of this, and it can be annoying. But after this, there's none of this in this chapter, so it'll just be pure gameplay, and there's a lot to see, and a lot to talk about, so just have to turn this crank so he can go out. You're going to see a weird jump cut and edit here. It's because the way this chapter handles checkpoints, it'll give you checkpoints and autosaves after killing certain enemies. It's not very specific, and it's not planned out in a very concise manner from what I can tell. So I'm just going to basically skip ahead a little bit. So as you can see there, I basically moved through the house, and those two enemies I was talking about, I just got them with the pickup. And you're going to see some edits like that throughout this playthrough. And I'm obviously, full disclosure, this is not a unsegmented run. I'm going to die a lot in this playthrough. As I said, Akumu is extremely difficult, especially with these restrictions in place. I'm going to die a lot. So right now you can see this doppelganger up here. He's got the kind of the hood up. These are extremely difficult and kind of scary enemies. They can kill you in one hit, even on normal. So as you can see there, he's initiating a grab, and it goes along the ground, and it'll grab you and kill you in one hit. On Akumu, you die in one hit anyway, but you still want to make it priority because the grab that's chasing you has a lot of range. So you just got to take care of them as soon as you see them. They have to be a priority. And right there I miss, and I shoot out the window, so I just use that to vault over, get inside the building. So in this building, there's two weapons you pick up. There's the crossbow and the shotgun are both in the same house. So right here, I come in here and I kind of swap around my quick select. And you're going to see right here, the harpoon bolt is a single fire kind of arrow, but it has some other properties. Right there, I did some collateral damage between the two haunted. You can also kind of knock several over if they're clustered together. So it kind of works like a shotgun. You can knock multiple over at a time if they're near you. And it's also like a sniper rifle. It has a really long range. And right there you see the explosive bolt. It has really good trap potential. So if you lay it on the ground, if enemies step over it, it'll initiate a countdown for a second or two, and then it'll blow up. Even at base level, that can kill these haunted. So I got two with one bolt. Really good use of that bolt. So I was happy with that. And then here we get the shotgun. So shotgun, I like to select on the right. I don't know why I do that in every game, but the shotgun is incredibly useful in this game. It's not really a damage tool It's more for utility, so knocking enemies down, grouping them together to get match throws off, things like that. It works for damage, it does good damage, and it does have critical hit potential for the Haunted, like when you hit them in the head. But by and large, in this run, when resources are limited and it's not going to be upgraded, I'm going to use it more for grouping enemies and just knocking them over. Like right there, I wasn't expecting to get a critical, but I knew that I was going to knock him down, so. And there's a treasure chest over here, and there's a stick of dynamite inside it, so pretty clever for first-time players just expecting some free resources, and you get that instead. So you'll see here, inside this chest is one of the items I was trying to not use. You get the flashbolt. I was trying to pick up the shotgun shells, but I picked that up instead, so I'm just going to not use it. At the beginning of the next chapter, I'm just going to fire it when no enemies are around, just to get rid of it. So something I was going to say about the fire from the last video that I didn't have time to talk about is when you light environmental things on fire, such as the hay bales, the fire stays lit for a few seconds so you can lure the enemies into it. But when you light an enemy on fire who's on the ground, you don't have that few seconds of leeway. If you want to light additional enemies on fire, they have to be already standing on that enemy. So because there's more bodies, you have more opportunities to light bodies on fire throughout a stage. You have to be a little bit more precise with them. But these hay bales, since they're more rare, you get to have a little bit more leniency with your timing and luring enemies into it. It's a really clever system. Makes you use them a little differently. And you'll see I'll use the hay bale for something that I wouldn't normally use a fire for. And right here, I'm not disarming this dynamite for a reason. I'm going to use it against the boss here in a second. So I'm kind of just clearing this out, setting it up, grabbing resources, making sure I'm ready for the boss. This chapter, you can do any of these little sections in a order you want. It's kind of like a little sandbox. There's a few different houses, a few different areas with stuff inside it. I didn't go in a couple of them because I thought that the danger to resource ratio wasn't good enough, so I just avoided them altogether. There's an enemy who follows me over here, so I need to take care of her before I start messing with the boss. Enemies can follow you all throughout this level, so always keep your sound on and be aware of what's going on. And right here, she gets stuck in the bear trap, so I throw the fire, or I light her on fire. I was wanting to use that bear trap for the boss, and since this is actually a different segment than when I kill the boss, that bear trap's going to come back. So you'll see what I do with that. When you aggro the boss, all the enemies in this area will flock to you. It's a lot like the part in Resident Evil 4 at the beginning of the game with the Dr. Salvatore and all the villagers. You can kind of just wander around, kill the villagers, waste time, and then that part will pass. Or you can just kill Salvatore and end that part right there. This part, sort of the same idea. It's a big open area where if you kill the boss, then the other enemies die. So when you initiate the fight, all the enemies will aggro to you, but if you kill the boss, they all die. So there's kind of that cool trade-off there. So getting close to this barricade here will initiate the fight. The music will start and all the enemies will kind of rush to you. So I like to come up this ladder. Since there's traps up on the second floor, there's hay. There's 2 stacks of hay, as well as that stick of dynamite and a bear trap. So, to me, the developers were trying to say, hey, use all these traps against the boss. So I use a harpoon while he's on the ladder. The harpoon doesn't do hit stun to him, as far as I know. So I use it while he's already not in danger of attacking me. He's on the ladder, so he's already in another animation. Here he gets stuck in the bear trap, so it's a cool little touch that even a boss type enemy can be stuck in it. And here I run past the dynamite and I shoot it. And I don't really shoot it for the damage on him. What I do is I do a sort of combo. I give him hit stun, so that way he stays near the fire. I can light the hay on fire. that catches him on fire, which in turn does a lot of damage and even more hit stun. And then all it took was just that shotgun blast to kill him. So explosions and fire, even if they're at a distance, well, explosions, if they're at a distance, they'll still do good hit stun, even to enemies like that. So make sure you take advantage of that. And then the fire not only does damage, but it kept him stunned, so I could just freely go up to him and shoot him with the shotgun. You always want to make sure you use stuff like that in these runs, because otherwise my only other option would be to run backwards, shoot him with the shotgun, which, with my stamina being at base level and him being as aggressive as he is, probably wouldn't have worked out too well, and I would have wasted all my ammo. So I'm walking away from this chapter with, I think it was 5 or 6 shotgun shells, which I can't complain about that. I still have a torch in my hand. The torch works against the chainsaw guys as well, which they're called sadists, which that's how I'll refer to them now. And now I'm just going around collecting anything I didn't find, the matches, getting some trap parts, things like that. So the trap parts. If you don't use traps against the enemies, like I did to that chainsaw guy, had I not... Oh, I'm sorry, sadist. I just said I'd refer to them that way, didn't I? Had I not used the dynamite against the sadist, I could have disarmed it, gotten a couple of trap parts, and in turn made a bolt, or contributed to the making of a bolt. So if I would have got 2 parts, I could have made a harpoon bolt, since it takes 2 parts to make one of those. But in that instance, since the harpoon bolt wouldn't have stunned him, I wanted to just use it against him. Explosive bolts cost 3, and that wouldn't have been enough to make one. So I figured it's worth 2 trap parts, and with 2 trap parts worth of resources, I can get a free stun by just shooting it with a handgun bullet, and to me that was a good trade-off. The only other bolt type I can make is a shock bolt, which is 4 bolt types, so I definitely couldn't have made that either. So you always have to be thinking in terms of, I guess in terms of economics when you're playing a run like this. There's so much to consider, a lot to, long-term, a lot to think about. There's a lot of different properties and stun states in this game, and really getting the details down of each are really going to help you get through it. I mean, had I not known that fire was going to stun him, or that the dynamite wouldn't have stunned him, I may have just not even bothered, just disassembled that dynamite and not even bothered, wasted all my shotgun ammo, died a lot in the process, things like that. But if you have the knowledge, you can really turn the tide of the battle on the enemies. So hope that explains a few things to anyone who is curious. And that wraps that chapter up, so I'll see you guys next time.